Hello guys, hope you're doing well. In this video, I'm gonna show you how to take derivatives with the rules, and I'm gonna show you the faster, simple way with the derivative rules. Let's get started. If f of x is equal c is constant. The derivative of any constant is 0. Means if f of x is equal c, so f prime of x means the derivative of f of x is 0. For example, if f of x is 2, so f prime of x is equal 0. F of x is equal minus 1, so the derivative of f of x or f prime of x is equal 0. Or if f of x is 5, so f prime of x is 0. Finally, if f of x is pi is constant or pi is a number, so f prime of x is 0. Okay? Number 2. F of x is equal x to the nth power. So f prime of x is equal n times x to the power of n minus 1. So if you have a variable raised to a constant, such as x to the nth power, it's very useful and really simple. All you have to do is bring that power down to the front of the term as a coefficient and then reduce that all power by 1. Okay? For example, if f of x is equal x squared, so we have f prime of x is equal, bring down the 2 to the front, so we have 2 times, according to this formula, x to the power of n minus 1. So x to the 2 minus 1, 2 minus 1, so we have 2x. Okay? Or if f of x is x cubed, so we have f prime of x is equal, first bring down the 3 to the front, so we have 3 times x to the power of, then reduce that power by 1. 3 minus 1, so we have 3x squared. Or if f of x is x to the 5th power, so we have f prime of x is equal, bring down the 5 to the front, so we have 5 times x to the power of, reduce that power by 1, 5 minus 1, so we have 5x to the 4th power. Okay? If f of x is equal x to the power of minus 2, so f prime of x is equal, bring down the minus 2 to the front, minus 2 times x to the power of, reduce that power by 1, minus 2 minus 1, so we have minus 2x to the power of minus 3. Okay? So if f of x is equal x to the nth power, so f prime of x is equal, bring down that power, n times x to the power of n minus 1. That's a power rule. Okay? So if f of x is equal c times x to the nth power, what can we do? When you have a constant multiplied in the front of the term, you can keep the constant and then take the derivative of the rest of the term. That's the constant multiply rule. So if f of x is equal c times x to the nth power, so f prime of x is equal c times the derivative of x to the nth power, n times x to the power of n minus 1. For example, f of x is equal to 3x squared. According to this formula, first keep the constant, so we have 3, and then take the derivative of the rest of the term, means the derivative of x squared. Okay, so we have 3 times the derivative of x squared according to this formula. Bring down the 2 to the front, so we have 2x, then reduce that power by 1. 2 minus 1, so we have 3 times 2 is equal 6, x to the power of 1, 6x. Or if f of x is 4x to the 5th power, we have f prime of x is equal, first keep the constant 4 and then take the derivative of the rest of the term, means the derivative of x to the 5th power. So we have 4 times, first bring down the 5 to the front, 5 times x to the power of, reduce that power by 1, x to the 4th power. Okay, so we have 4 times 5 is 20, x to the 4th power. Okay, look at this polynomial. It has a bunch of terms added and subtracted. We can find the derivative of this by finding the derivative of each term individually, and that will give us the full derivative. Okay, so f prime of x is equal, first we keep the constant, means 4 times, take the derivative of the rest of the term, the derivative of x to the 4th power, minus 5, keep the constant, times the derivative of x cubed, plus, keep the constant, we use constant multiply rule, 3 times the derivative of x squared, plus, let me give you a useful and important point. If f of x, for example, cx, c is constant, so f prime of x is equal c. For example, if f of x is equal 5x, so f prime of x is equal 5, or the derivative of 3x is equal 3, or the derivative of x is equal 1, or the derivative of minus 2x is equal just minus 2, because if f of x is equal cx, so f prime of x is equal c, we use the constant multiple rule, means keep the c times the derivative of x. X is x to the power of 1, so we have c times the derivative of x to the power of 1 is equal, bring down the 1 to the front and then reduce that power by 1, times x to the power of 1 minus 1. Okay, c times 1 is equal c, times x to the power of 0 is equal 1, so is equal c. So if f of x is equal cx, so f prime of x is equal c. So the derivative of 5x is 5, and finally the derivative of any constant, means minus 3, is equal 0, minus 0. Okay, so we have f prime of x is equal 4 times the derivative of x to the 4th power is equal bring down the 4 and then reduce that power by 1 means x to the power of 4 minus 1 minus 5 times bring down 3 to the front. It means 3 times x to the power of reduce that power by 1. 3 minus 1 plus 3 times bring down the 2 to the front times 2 x to the power of reduce that power by 1. 2 minus 1 plus 5. And finally, f prime of x is equal 4 times 4 is equal 16. X to the power of 4 minus 1 is x cubed minus 5 times 3 is equal 15 x squared plus 3 times 2 is 6. X to the power of 2 minus 1 is x plus 5. Okay?